Yo, what's good, fam? This is more of a serious topic, so it's different than what I usually upload, and it has to do with the kind of killers we go against and why exactly we only go against strong killers whenever we play Survivor. What some of you know, what some of you don't know, is I play both sides as equally. I don't play one side more than the other, and that's why I feel like my opinion isn't biased. And whenever I make videos like this, I always put my opinion in it, but I try to go off fact as much as I can. And if you also don't know, I'm doing a challenge where I get to iridescent 1, perkless, itemless, add-on list, killer, and survivor. When playing survivor, I solo queue 99% of the time. I played a few games the other day with some of my friends, but other than that, I've been solo queuing, and in my opinion, I'm a pretty decent killer, so I decided to give myself a challenge, and the killer I went with is one of the worst in the game. In my opinion, is the pig. In this video, I'll just show you 1 or 2 games of some matches that I had with pig, and there's just one really big question I have to ask you at the end, so I hope you enjoy. Watch the video to the end. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment too, and let's get into the matches. But let me just say, this video is not to bash survivors. It's not to say the game is survivor sided, not to say the killer is too hard. This game is just an observation. The odds of you going against somebody willingly using one of the worst kills in the game and willingly use no perks and add-ons is very, very small. There are definitely disgusting add-ons and disgusting builds I could have used that I'm not using. This is also not to say the killer side is hard, because frankly both sides are hard, but killer has been easier now than it has ever been before. I was only in this situation in this game that I was in because I knew what I was getting myself into starting this challenge. So this isn't me complaining at all. I'm not complaining at all. This is just an observation that I am making from my experience. And I have a very important question to ask you at the end of this game. So I load into the match, and it's the map with the most pallets and the most safe pallets. I'm positive that's a fact, the game. After a little bit, we find Leon, and he takes this window, which we don't have the power to do anything about, so we're just going to take it after him. And he pre-drops this pallet, which it's okay, it's one pallet, I'll get it out the way. We decided to keep chasing. We found another pallet that is pretty safe against pigs, so I just have to break it. This is the room directly to the right. We just passed a really safe pallet, and we're at this pallet that isn't all that safe, but with pig, I'm gonna have to do nothing but break it. But I decide to leave him and press for a gen, and we find Nancy and Ada. They didn't pre-drop this god pallet, which surprised me, so I got an easy hit on Nancy. She runs through this god pallet, but by the time I can catch up, she already has a window. She doesn't want to use the pallet in the jungle gym, and I kind of lost sight of her right here. That's my fault. I could have caught her sooner. And I'm gonna pause it right here because you can see the situation that I'm in. As an M1 killer that doesn't have an in-chase power other than the ambush, which is pretty bad, there's nothing I can do in this situation as the killer I am. But you know what kind of killers could do something about it? Hillbilly, Nurse, Spirit, maybe Plague, Huntress, you know what I mean? Doctor, he'll stop her from dropping any pallets. Oni, Deathslinger, Pyramid Head, you know what I mean? Especially Blight, Artists, Pinhead, like, they can do something in this situation to try to get a hit. As pig, I have nothing. And that's the main thing I want you to focus on. Don't worry about the perks. I'll go over all the perks I could have used in this match, but just think about the killer I'm using. She's in my sight, and there's a god pallet here that every killer has to break, except for Nurse. And by this time, 2 gens have already passed. I catch Nancy at this really unsafe pallet, so I'm able to get the easy knock. I'm gonna slap a chop on her head, slap her on the hook. We go upstairs, catch Claudette in the open, easy hit, so we might as well commit, and she makes it back to this god pallet that wasn't dropped earlier. But I have Bloodlust. I calculate how long until I have Bloodlust in every chase. And in my opinion, that's one of the killer buffs that the killer should have never gotten when the last patch came with all the killer buffs, because now as a killer I rely on Bloodlust so much that I don't even think about it. I consciously have a timer in my head of when I get Bloodlust and if I let them greed the pallet or not. And this new Bloodlust basically rewards the killer for not being able to catch the survivors in time, which I don't think should be a thing. I don't think I should be awarded a speed boost because I can't catch somebody who's looping me like they're supposed to do. I understand the old Bloodlust where if you really needed help to catch them you would get the speed boost, but now you're rewarded for simply just chasing survivors, which is your main plan. I don't think you should be awarded for that. Alright, I'm gonna stop rambling on. Let's get back to the game. So I meet Ada at the back of this room. She pre-drops this pallet because why wouldn't she? It's the smart thing to do. And then she comes over here, pre-drops this one. I might as well get it out the way. Catch Nancy on the gen. She's already been hooked once, so I'm like, we really need pressure. So I chase her around this pallet that I can't do much for, and of course she pre-drops it because why wouldn't she? But again, if I was Nurse, Spirit, Huntress, mainly, as I gotta keep saying out all these loops, Blight, I would have something to do against this. Nancy then makes it to this pallet and greets it twice, and then for the third time around the loop, she just pre-drops the pallet, because say she greets it and I don't respect it, that's a free hit, and that's what you don't want to give the killer. And I have no problem with that, but then she uses distance to her advantage, runs around this pallet one time before then going there and pre-dropping it. Nancy then makes it to this pallet right here that isn't really strong, but with the killer I'm forced to let her greet it. She pre-drops it and I break it. And right here, there's 2 gens left. I know they're being worked on. There's 4 all separated. I have no information. I don't have really good game sense. So right here, I'm lost. I don't know what gen to go to. Don't know what gen to pressure. This just comes down to experience on my part. But I took a chance to check on my traps. And as you can see, we find a Claudette who just finished a gen and then decided to take her trap off, so she hasn't even attempted to take it off yet. There's no pallet here, so I'm able to get a free hit. She tries to dead hard into me, but I just wait it out. I get the free down and I get the hook. And again, here's me not knowing what to do with gen of pressure. I have no information, so I just took a random guess and I went upstairs, and what do you know, right in front of me I find Nancy again. And after chasing her for a while, she took me all through this room, didn't pre-drop pallets. I was guaranteed a hit here, but right here is an advanced tip new survivors should know. If you're gonna get hit at a pallet and you know it, don't drop the pallet after you get hit. Save it for later, because that's what she did. And right here, Ada came and took the hit, dropped this pallet, not that good, but I was playing really poorly around it, and she's gonna try to take a hook stay, but we're gonna completely ignore her. Right here, she dead hards into me. The smartest thing I could have done is waited the dead hard, put her down on the ground, and put a trap on her head. I would have been in a really good spot if I did that, but I wasn't thinking. She pre-drops this pallet that wasn't dropped earlier, and we go right downstairs, and guess what? Another god pallet that every killer except for Nurse is forced to deal with, and by this time Claudette got her trap off, so it must have been 2 searches and she got it off. And I didn't mention, she still has another god pallet down here, so she drops it, every killer deals with it except Nurse. And the reason I mentioned saving the pallets for later is because if she pre-dropped this pallet earlier, I would have broke it and she would not have it to get this much distance on me if she had dropped it earlier. By the time I relatively close in on her, the last gen has been popped. She takes this window, dead hards into me, so I wait out the dead hard, get an easy knock on her, well, quote unquote easy, slap her on a hook, and I have to camp to guarantee 1 kill at least. But the moment I left the room, Ada came down the hole for the save, so I'm able to get an easy hit on Ada. So now that Nancy has base kit BT and I know that Ada has dead hard, I wait out the dead hard, but Nancy somehow got in and took the hit, so now I have to chase Ada through this room. I caught up to her. I messed up my swing here. I honestly think she would have got to the pallet anyways if I swung right, but she makes the pallet, gets the stun on me, comes into this LT room, so now I have her zoned out. So if she leaves this room, she gets hit. If she stays in the room, eventually I get bloodlust and she takes hit. So now here she tries to run away. This god pallet has already been broken and I get a knock on her. I somewhat leave the hook to get a hit on Leon because I don't want Leon to save, and they coordinated and she went around the other side and got the save. So I get the hit on Nancy, so now I'm chasing Nancy, but I hear Ada all up on me. Ada wants to take the hit, but I know there is dead hard, but there's no off the record and no DS, so I decided to take a swing and hope she didn't have BT, because I didn't want her to make the pallet and dead hard. So I get the knock and I take her back downstairs to put her on a hook. Ignore my AC if you hear, my AC just turned on, but right here we get a hit on Leon and we get a hit on Nancy, so I have 3 people injured. I try to go after one of the injured one. I'm getting flashlight clicked, I'm getting body blocked. I understand the body blocking, I don't understand the flashlight clicking, especially because I'm one of the weakest killers in the game. They say that's on the safe pallet, so I want to zone out this Nancy from getting out the door. I drop down. I don't know what I was doing there, that little stutter. I don't know. I'm not cutting right here because I want you to see what happens. And I'm chasing Nancy. She didn't have the best pathing here, but I catch up. And I catch up to her. Like, we're going around, wait the dead hard, knock her with the dead hard. Claudette's waiting around the box with a flashlight, I guess. I don't know why she would still be here. I get a hit on her, so now Leon already left. Ada and Claudette were injured, but Ada healed. I secure my 1 kill, they both leave without booping the snoot. You can see the perks, they brought a boon, 3 dead hards. They also brought the map offering, and they're all on different platforms, so it's safe to assume they're all a Swift, or at least the Nancy, Leon, and Ada. They were pretty well coordinated. How about an anti-looping perk like Bamboozle? Well, this window can only be used once, and Nancy used this window and ran away right after, so I wouldn't have gotten any value from Bamboozle. But honestly, I think Brutal Strength actually would have helped me get an extra hit or two. I think Brutal Strength would have been a good perk. Well, how about Corrupt Intervention to block the 3 furthest gens at the start? As Pig, even if I do block the 3 furthest gens, the other 4 gens, I don't have a good power to contest those, so there's no really a point. Deadlock for some gen slowdown would have been nice. That would have been a good perk to bring. But with no chase power, I'm not going to get any downs while it's active, so not that much value. Well, what about good old Sloppy Butcher? Well, they had a boon anyways, and there's no way to consistently get everybody injured at the same time as Pig. But what about some good old Hex perks? Yeah, good luck with Pig defending those. And one good perk for every killer that could have helped me get more hits, I believe, is Save the Best for last, but again, I'm doing it perkless. Well, DJ, what about add-ons? My Iridescent gets rid of 2 of my Bear Chops, so that's less pressure, and I have to be in stealth to see survivors within only 16 meters. The stealth is already terrible. And the second Iridescent takes all of my mid to end game pressure and gets rid of it at the start, so they can just get rid of it at the start. Like, that's ridiculous. And just in case you're a curious person, my mains are Legion, Demo, Pinhead, and Blight. And my very first main killer was Legion, so believe me, I know how to play as an M1 killer. But the big question I've been waiting to ask you the whole video: why shouldn't I? That's the question. Why shouldn't I? The survivors choosing the map, they're all swift, they're all pre-dropping pallets, and at the end all the flashlight clicking, just why shouldn't I? You probably want to know what I mean by this. Not talking about me, because I'm still doing my perkless challenge. What I mean is, if a killer goes through this, why shouldn't they pick the strongest killer with the best gen regression perks and the greatest add-ons ever? Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they? After going through all this pre-dropping, flashlight clicking, it doesn't feel good. Why wouldn't somebody do that? And that's my question. I hope you guys enjoyed.